lot has happened since you guys last played around the league and around the country. Have you guys talked as a team about how you, if you're going to address, racial inequality as a team on Sunday?
Yeah, we talked about it Monday when we got back together. We all got a chance to watch everything over the weekend, so we had a good discussion about it Monday as a team. Had a little bit more. John and I got one-on-one with our leadership council, spoke with them. The players are getting together, talking about the best way they want to do it, and we'll continue to talk about it as the week goes.
Do you anticipate players and coaches all doing something similar or together?
Yeah, I anticipate us doing something together. I think that's really what it's about. I'm not exactly sure what the players are talking about that, but they're going to think of the best thing that they want to do, and on whatever we decide, hopefully we decide to do it together.
Who's on your leadership council, Kyle?
There's like 12 guys. I'm not smart enough to go through them off the bat. No, it's Elvis, Bowman, E. Reed, Paulson, Juice, Pierre, I think, Hoyer, Marquise. I know I left out a couple guys.
Is Eric Reed a guy you rely on in this situation? Obviously he has experience with this. He's devoted a lot of his off time to social justice causes.
Yeah, I think, I don't know about rely on. It's more, I just want information. So, you want information for people who know. And, I think Eric has paid more attention to it than the average person and knows more about it. So he's a great guy for me to hear his side and opinions and stuff, which helps me have a broader perspective of what's going on.
What were your reactions to what President Trump had to say?
I was pretty bothered by it. I think similar to, the same way most people were. I think, I got a lot of regard for that position. I have my whole life. It's a very important, big position to be the leader of our country. And when you hear something like that, it definitely bothered me, especially when he's calling out people that you're associated with. But it's, the most bothersome thing is just, I think how everyone sees that position and our country, and you expect that position to be the best leader possible. And when I think of being a leader, I think of bringing people together. And all I know is the quotes I read, and when I read those quotes, I think that's the opposite of what you're expecting.
Obviously, ask your players, but you have a sense that your team as a whole kind of feels the same way?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't got to talk to every single person, but almost everyone I've talked to personally feels similar. I think it surprised everyone, and I think you expect more out of that position. And I think everyone knows when people have differences of opinion, the only time you get things fixed is bringing people together, and that makes it a lot harder when rhetoric brings people apart.
Your first year as head coach, you're dealing with these kinds of issues, and a lot of people out there say that people in sports should stick to sports. Why do you think it's the right thing to kind of bring the team together and talk about non-sports issues?
I totally agree with people say that you don't want a bunch of politics in sports. It's a way to get away from it. But when it is affecting people and it is truly involving all of us, and I know it's bothered a lot of people, and you got to separate the stuff too. I think the stuff that's gone on in the country, going back to the last few years, has bothered a lot of people for good reason. And then you go to the stuff with the flag, which some people associate with that, some people don't. But then after this weekend, it kind of threw us all in the same spot that we all were associated. So I think that's kind of the time that you do need to address it with the whole team, because I think the whole NFL felt like we were all called out.
Feel at all like just watching it and having already played and seeing all the stuff that happened, and did it feel like weird, like we're in a weird time? Did you get that kind of sense just watching it play out?
I think Saturday felt a little weirder for me, just because I expected that on Sunday. I think it was weirder to read quotes like that from a president. So I think it was weird for me to read that just sitting on my couch with my family, whether I'm an NFL head coach or whether I'm just a normal citizen sitting on the couch anywhere. So I think that was weird for everybody. But once you do read something like that, and I definitely wasn't weirded or surprised by what was going to happen the next day. It was exactly what I expected, and I kind of had a good idea how the people in this league would react to it.
Often that viewership numbers are down and that these protests will further hurt those numbers. Is that a concern? I mean, is that talked about?
No, we don't talk about that stuff. We talk about stuff we can control, stuff that you can worry about, and that's, I mean, I don't know how to think about any of that stuff, whether it's talk, whether it's facts. I don't know, and I don't get how you can know. So you let stuff play out over the years, and after you get 10 years of data or whatever, you can maybe give a better answer. But all that stuff is stuff I don't think twice about. Nothing at all. I mean, we had a bonus day on Monday, so we talked about it for 5 minutes as a team and spent about 20 minutes talking with the leadership council on a bonus day that we had extra time, so it hasn't affected us at all. I think it was good that he did it. I mean, people, I think there's a lot of lack of understanding, and people don't know why people decide to do stuff, and people want to jump to conclusions, which you can understand to a degree, but I think it's very hard to have an opinion on anything unless you can understand people's intentions, understand why they wanted to do stuff, and I know, talking to Eric personally, that's what he really wants to do. He wants people to understand his intentions, and his intentions are not to disrespect the flag and our country. His intentions are to help our country, and it's a way that he believes will. You can disagree with that all you want, but I can't disagree with his intentions, and I respect his intentions.
What are your thoughts in general about athletes speaking out?
I really don't have an absolute thought on it. I like people to be themselves, and if people feel that that's something they want to do and it's important to them in their life and who they are, and when it's all said and done and you're on your deathbed, if that's something that is important to you and you feel you should have, then go for it. Be yourself. If you're someone who doesn't want to be like, then don't. I don't think people have responsibilities to be forced to do anything that they don't want to do. I think people have a responsibility to be themselves and to do what they think's right. So I think that's different for every human in the world, and I think that's different for every athlete.
Have you learned anything from Eric about these issues? From you talking to him that you didn't know?
No, it's just good to get perspective and to understand. To me, it's really nice to be in a position I am to. It's a lot easier for me to understand people's intentions because I get to talk to someone one-on-one, and I do think that's very important in stuff like this. You just see people kneeling for the flag, and you jump to. I get why everyone would think that's disrespectful when they initially see it and stuff, and you can always have that opinion whether it is or whether it isn't. But when a guy explains to you why he's doing it, then I can at least understand a person and understand where he's coming from. And everyone has different circumstances on what has led them to make whatever opinions it is. And I respect everyone's opinion, and I like to know the reasons for it. You can disagree, you can agree, but I feel fortunate to where at least I can talk to people firsthand. That gives me a much better understanding than watching it from afar.
How are your guys doing that are in the concussion protocol?
They're doing better, better with time. I think all three of them have been cleared for football activity, but they still can't go through any contact, and so I think the word's limited, but they're better than they were 4 days ago.
Is there any chance Reuben Foster back?
I don't think so.
Carlos, did the hip have any?
Yeah, Carlos is limited. He's going to be probably limited all week. I know he definitely is today. I know he's still sore from it and still trying to recover, but right now he's limited.
You're saying a guy that's been in this league a long time. What kind of relationship, if any, do you have with him, and just what do you think of his coaching style?
I don't know Bruce personally very well, but I've always been a huge fan of him. I really started getting to know him as far as him as a coach and as a person, which is off watching silent tape when he was at Pittsburgh. I've always loved what he's done. A lot of things that I've incorporated back to when I've started trying to put together an offense. I've included things he's done over the years, back with Hines Ward and things like that. So I've always followed him. He's a great offensive mind, and I like how he carries himself too.
He was talking this morning about how he doesn't like to sugarcoat things with his players. It seems like something you've kind of adopted. How have you gotten to that point with your philosophy on dealing with players?
I just try to be myself, and I think Bruce is himself also. I think that's pretty obvious. And I mean, people know when you're not yourself. You got to keep it real. If that's how you are all the time, you got to be that way with the players. And all players, even though it's tough on them sometimes, if you ask a player pretty consistently, the thing they want the most from coaches is honesty. And then you give it to them, and sometimes they don't like it so much, but usually they respect you for it in the long run.
He mentioned that there's always a difference between making sure the guys know it's not criticism versus it's just coaching. How do you kind of walk that line?
You try to never embarrass someone. Like you never want to make. You got to realize, for the most part, I know it's not 100% this way, but those players want to do the job just as good as you want them to do the job, and that's why. Usually with me, if you're working your hardest and doing the best you can, very rarely are you going to have a problem. Am I going to have a problem with you? Where I start to get on guys or want to call them out or handle it in a different way is when I feel like they're taking shortcuts. They're not doing it as hard as they can, and now they're letting everyone down. If you get the most out of someone, and you just try to keep coaching them. And if they can't get it done, then you do your best to find someone who can.
Not starting the Cardinals offense necessarily, but just with Larry Fitzgerald, he went bananas again Monday. I know you talked about how you love Bolden. What are your thoughts on Fitzgerald and just what he's done for his career?
Oh, he's the man. He's been great in his whole career. He was great in college, and he's still great. So Larry is a, people talk about him losing speed and stuff, whether he has or hasn't, it doesn't matter. When you can make cuts like he can play as violent as he can, when you have the hands that he does, and everyone sees what he does for them in the pass game because you get the numbers and everything, but he doesn't take it down off in this league. And to play that long that way where you'll throw your body around as a blocker, you fight for yards after the catch when the ball's in your hand. He is a fearless competitor, and there's no doubt he's talented, but the competitor in him, to me, is what separates him from the rest.
So whether he's covered, regardless of what defense it is, the ball's going to him.
Yeah, almost every time it's one-on-one, usually. It's because it's hard for a guy to stop him even when he's covered.
Couple more?
With Tank on IR and Ronald Blair on IR, who else is playing that big end spot behind Solomon Thomas?
Really all of our ends. I don't want to give you our exact answers and stuff, but all of our ends are capable of doing both. If you're a defensive end, whether you're the Leo or the big end, there's preferences we have for each, but you can play both. Just like anybody in the league, you can play both sides. So there's just different things, and I think we got some versatility on our D-line. We have lots of guys who can play both sides of the end, and most of those guys can also play inside. So that is the one thing with our D-line. Even though we've had some injuries, we do have some guys that we can shuffle around and use all interchangeably.